What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of MavAttack. You know what time it is. Time for that Ratchet and Clank review. Now, a little backstory. I've not really played many Ratchet and Clank games. Gotten my hands on a few of them. I think Deadlocked and Nuts and Bolts, and then the one on PSP. But I'd never really finished the games or really played them all the way through, and I don't really know much about them. So that's a little backstory on this. I'm a Ratchet and Clank newcomer, and with this new Ratchet and Clank being a revitalization of the series, it's probably good to go in with some fresh eyes and see how this fresh new take on the series is. So without further ado, let's fucking start.
Story.
So the story starts you out as Ratchet. He's part of the Lombax race. It's like this race of, he looks like a dog or like a little cat. I don't know what he looks like, but he finds Clank. He's this little robot that escapes the Blargian alien race. Now the Blargians are this evil race, and they're ran by this man named Drex. Now Drex wants to take over the galaxy and destroy the galaxy with this special Death Star kind of thing called the Planetizer that just completely obliterates full planets all on its own. So with the help of not so heroic Captain Quark and the Galactic Rangers, Ratchet and Clank join up with them to take the fight to the Blargians, to fight against Drex, to stop them from destroying the whole galaxy itself. So the story gets much deeper than this, and of course I'm not going to spoil too much because there's also a movie that comes out that's based on the game, that's based on the movie, that the movie's based on the original games, that's based on the game, on the movie, on the game. But in short, the story is fun, it's magical, it's humorous, and it just does a really good job of capturing you, bringing you into the story, the setting, the characters, and just giving you a great feel and great atmosphere to where the story and the whole game really takes place. I mean, it's a really great story to follow along, and it's a great game and story for anyone to get into because it is E-rated. There's no real adult themes or anything that crazy that happens in the game or anything like that, so even little kids can play this game. I mean, it is a really fun experience, and the story is great, one that should not be slept on.
Gameplay.
So Ratchet and Clank is a 3D platforming adventure game. It takes you to many different types of planets, gives you many different types of guns, lets you fight against many different types of enemies, and gives you many different types of skills that you take into these settings, into these levels, use everything that you've gotten in the game to go through the levels, find all the secrets and goodies, unlock things. Equipped with your trusty wrench, you'll run through levels attacking enemies, knocking out containers to get nuts and bolts, and this is a big collectathon type of game. You're going to be constantly picking up nuts and bolts, which are the in-game currency that you can use to actually go in to a Gadgetron shop and purchase different weapons and special weapons that all have special unique abilities. And then you can also use another special resource, which is another currency in the game, and you can use that to upgrade each weapon, and each weapon has its own skill tree. So there are tons of weapons, there are tons of skills that each weapon has that can, for example, give you more ammo for that weapon. Instead of holding 5, you can now hold 6. Different things like that. But you can use your nuts and bolts to purchase these new weapons, and certain weapons are just crazy. I mean, there's weapons ranging from the Sheepinator, which, yes, as you could guess, turns enemies into fucking sheep, which is absolutely crazy. There's also like this OP bouncing grenade ball thing. I forgot what the name of it is called, but I maxed that up immediately, and that thing was just OP, so OP that I didn't need any other weapon in the game. You shoot it, and it's this big ball that bounces and separates into tinier balls, which go and heat seek into enemies and blow them up. Thus getting you more nuts and bolts that you can go in and buy new weapons, and it's just a great fucking time. Movement and fighting and platforming is all very smooth, and the mechanics feel great. They feel right. You have Clank on your back, and as you progress in the story and as you level up, instead of just doing a basic double jump that Ratchet can do, because Clank can actually propel you guys up higher into the sky, you can also use Clank to do a long jump as well across gaps. So there are a lot of different gameplay mechanics and elements that will take what has previously been done, like the double jump, and then expand upon it, giving you that extra height jump, for example. Everything in the game feels right, it feels fluid, it feels smooth, and it just makes for a very great platforming game. Now, the platforming takes up a lot of the game, so to break up a lot of that platforming are different gameplay sequences, such as flying your spaceship around, destroying Blargian airships to protect a certain planet or a certain area. There's also, for example, hoverboard racing. You can actually participate in bronze, silver, and gold competitions in hoverboards, and I actually had a big problem with it earlier on, and then some tips from a friend of mine helped me along the path, but these do well to break up the platforming parts of the game. But overall, just the Ratchet and Clank gameplay, it feels great, it feels amazing. I don't have any qualms about the physical gameplay, you know, of moving your character around. You know, jumping is simple, gliding is simple, floating is simple, fighting is simple, everything is simple, and the game feels great.
Things I liked.
Yeah, it felt like I was playing damn near a Pixar game. I mean, this game is visually amazing. graphically, this game looks beautiful. I cannot complain about the graphics of this game. Like I said in the gameplay portion, movements, you know, platforming, jumping, shooting, all this feels buttery smooth. Gadgets and weapons in the game provide a lot to be impressed over. I mean, from gadgets like gravity boots that let you walk up the side of walls and up on the ceilings of places, and you know, weapons like having a minion follow you around and shoot at enemies and talk shit to you as you're collecting life orbs. The story was really great. I could see the little kid appeal, but me being a 23-year-old male, I absolutely love this story. It had charm, it had character, it had humor, it had witty jokes, it had corny jokes, it had a lot of that stuff. And for me being a Ratchet and Clank newcomer, it was very inviting. Fantastic voice acting, of course. I mean, I remember seeing the credits. I saw Rosario Dawson is in the game. Paul Giamatti is in the game. The voice acting is fantastic. And not only the voice acting, but literally all the sound effects in game, the menu music, the game's music, just everything about the game. I mean, like I said, it feels like a Pixar game or a Pixar movie, or close to, damn near close to. And then of course my final pro, the ship and the hoverboard sequences, you know, just throwing these in every now and again did a great job of breaking up the platforming. Hoverboarding is even optional. Once you get past the first tier, you have to do it from the main mission. Then you can do silver or gold at your leisure. You don't have to just keep doing it, keep pounding away at it. You can do it whenever you want, and that's great.
Things I disliked.
Of course, with a game like this, a game that is so visually just, it's gonna have some problems, and it does have some problems. When there was a lot of commotion on screen, the frame rate got really bad, and a lot of people aren't gonna care about this, but me being a PC gamer, I really care, and I take notice of these things. Frame rate was really bad there in a few parts, and sometimes it got unbearable, and it's noticeable right off the bat when it happens, you can tell. And also glitches and bugs, falling through the map, using my gravity boots and jumping out of the gravity boot area. You like fall through the ceiling and then fall down. Sometimes you will just glitch through the map. I had a problem with glitches and bugs. Not sure if anybody else did, but this was my experience. So yes, I had a lot of glitches, a lot of problems. Like I said, falling through the map, clipping through walls, everything, just a lot of clipping. And for me, the levels were short and somewhat linear. There were a lot of levels and a lot of variety within these levels. And when I say levels, that just basically different planets, but it would take you on a linear path to your main objective, and once your main objective was complete, you could take a taxi, drive back to your ship, and then you could also go and do the optional missions, the optional side missions, but they were still linear. You didn't really have to do many crazy tasks or do a lot of crazy exploration to find these side tasks. They were just kind of follow this path to the side task, follow this path to the main, and I wish it would be a little more open to exploring. But I understand with it being a revitalization, reopening and refreshing people to the series, they would want to kind of guide players, but I certainly was not a fan of this. Speaking of guiding players, however, the puzzles and the game mode difficulty that I was playing on, I played on hard, and then the puzzles that were in the game, or the puzzles that were present, weren't very challenging. And the game just wasn't very challenging. And just to follow up with that, there is a new game plus mode, which is challenge mode, which is supposed to be a lot more difficult, but there really isn't much incentive to warrant a second playthrough, for me at least. Once I finished it, I was content, I was happy, I didn't really feel like doing another playthrough, but there is that challenge mode, which is technically new game plus, which ups the difficulty, but I wish that option of a higher difficulty would have been there to begin with. But overall, I spent between 8 and 11 hours finishing the main story on hard, and as I wouldn't call the game flawless by any means, Ratchet and Clank is really an excellent game for the PlayStation 4. It is a great game, and it sets a great standard for quality, time, graphics, gameplay, but most importantly, the entire platforming genre itself and collectathon platforming games. I mean, these games need a comeback, and the amount of fun I had playing Ratchet and Clank, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Did not feel real that I was having this much fun every second I was playing the game until the conclusion of the game. So what do I think about Ratchet and Clank? I think it's an amazing game. It's $40. I would highly recommend you picking it up, whether you're a fan of Ratchet and Clank games, whether you're a fan of collectathon 3D platforming games, even if you're not a fan of the way it looks like kid-friendly and it's rated E for everyone, just fuck that. It's an amazing game. It's $40. You get more hours in the game than you do a lot of AAA titles that are worth $60. I mean, you couldn't ask for a more fun experience on the PlayStation 4. So if you're a PlayStation 4 owner and you do not own Ratchet and Clank, do yourself a favor, put up your $40, purchase this game, and have the time of your life, because it is truly one of the most fun gaming experiences that I've had in 2016, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the movie after this. But thank you guys all so much for watching this episode of MavAttack. I had the hardest time recording this fucking review. So if you could type that like button, I would really appreciate it. My blood pressure is just... But we did it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And that's all I got for you. Consider subscribing to join the Mav movement. All you Mavs stay rad, and all you Mavs stay fab. And I will see you guys on the next episode of MavAttack. Motherfucker.
Man, why was that so difficult? I didn't even check myself. And I'm sure I just wrecked myself.